About money. It's war day. So today I wanted to talk about something I was reading this morning during my kind of prayer meditation time, and it was a passage that I had heard as a story 1,000 times and read. The story of the in the Bible of the man and the talents, right? He went away and he gave his servants some money. Talents were like bags of gold, basically. He gave them this money that was his money. He gave it to them to care for while he was gone. And, uh, I'd always heard this story in one particular way. Hey, Reichel, nice to see you. Um, I had heard this story always told in one particular way, and it was never told that it was about money. But actually, it's about money, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is about investing. This is literally talking about what we need to do with our money. So the story goes, the the Lord of the Manor, right, which is supposed to be representing Jesus. The Lord of the Manor goes away on a long journey, and he calls his servants, and he gives one of them 5 bags of gold. He gives the other one 2 bags of gold, and he gives one of them 1 bag of gold. And the first servant goes and puts it into trade. He invests it, he trades it, and he doubles the money. He makes 5 more bags. And the second servant goes and invests it and trades it. He invests it and he makes double of that too. And the third one, who is afraid, this is key, he is afraid, and he buries the money. He doesn't invest the money, he buries the money. And then, when the Lord of the house comes back, and this is something interesting in the Bible, they use the word servant, but I think that's inaccurate because as a translation, think about it. Who is somebody that you take your money and you give it to them to invest? You take your property and you give it to them to take care of, and you expect that when you return, you're going to get that property back in better shape than you found it. What's the definition of that? It's not a servant, it's a steward. So these people are stewards. The Lord of the manor gave them his property to care for and expected to get it back in better shape when he returned. So he gave it to them to do something with, to invest. Now, the guy who went and invested it and made double on it, and when the Lord of the manor came back, he said, here's your 5, and here's 5 more that I made off of it, right? And he said, well done, good and faithful steward, right? We're going to change that word there. You've been faithful over this small thing. I'm going to let you rule over many things. He was going to give him a lot more responsibility. Now, I was always taught this as a way of saying, don't waste your mental talents, your physical talents, or make sure you're faithful to do your little jobs that we give you of doing the dishes and cooking and blah, 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 right? So that you can be faithful over bigger jobs. That's how the story was taught. It wasn't taught about money. Money. This is saying if you have money, don't bury it. Go out, make use of that money, invest it, get a good return. He's saying double the money. We're not talking about making 2% in a bank account, right? I mean, basically what that guy did, burying the money, is he just stuck it in a savings account and left it there. He didn't do anything with it. So if anything, it lost value, right? During the time that the Lord was away because of inflation. So if you think about it right now, what's happening right now is that the inflation rate has gone to 6.3%. It is the highest inflation we have had in America in 30 years, which means your money is losing a huge amount of value every day. It sits in a bank account. If you are not investing it in something and doing something with it to make more than 6%, your money is literally just draining away. Now, the thing that really stood out to me about the third servant, right, or steward that got 1 talent is, or 1 bag of gold, basically, is that when the Lord comes back, he said, I was afraid. I was afraid. And the Lord said, "You lazy servant," okay? "You lazy and slothful servant, you didn't put in the work it takes to go and figure out what makes a good investment, to go and actually do something with the money you've received." He scolded him for that. And then what he said, he took away that money given to him and he gave it to the guy who had 10 bags of gold, who had doubled the money. He said, "From him who doesn't have, it will be taken and given to them who has," right? Because the other person showed that they made wise investment decisions, right? They went out there. And this is what happens all the time to people. You see it all the time. The people who don't have anything, who don't invest, who don't do that, eventually they lose even the little that they have, right? And even if they're not making bad spending decisions necessarily, just putting it in your bank account, you're already losing it with the inflation that we have going on right now. So that's basically what he said. He said, "You're lazy and slothful because you didn't go out and figure out what to do with this. You didn't go find out." And the servant's excuse was that he was afraid. He was afraid. Do you know how many people I talk to and teach about investing who are afraid? They're afraid to make a move. I was for many, many years, and I know that I lost out on making a lot of money over the years because I was afraid to invest. Because I was afraid, I was like, I don't know enough about it, and I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, I don't have the focus or willpower, whatever it is, to go figure it out. What was I really saying all those years? I was being lazy. Okay. I was being lazy. I wasn't taking the time and energy needed to figure out how to invest. That was my problem. Now, when I shifted that and I said, okay, I'm done being lazy about this, I am done having a fear about this. I want to go and actually, uh, it's time for me to figure out how to make money from my money, how to invest, right? So I went and did that. But I mean, that story is just so clear and I see it everywhere. I saw it in my own life, right? And I see it all the time in when I'm teaching people. How many people are too afraid to pull the trigger, or they are just like, oh, I don't have enough information, but they're not even taking the time to find out the information. Okay, I make all these videos. I show them, I'm like, this is where you can go. This is a simple way to get started. How many people actually take action? How many people watch the video all the way through and really learn about it? How many go do their own research on it so they can feel comfortable about it and then actually take an action, actually do something, even something small, even just opening a little Betterment account or figuring out how to put some money on a platform in crypto, right? Anything, even just something small, not something risky, just something small, just to get started, to figure it out, to learn it, right? So many people are too lazy or they claim they're afraid, but really it's an excuse for laziness of actually not going and figuring it out. That's what that story is talking about. It's showing, I mean, people look at it and they're like, okay, it's talking about this spiritual sense, and I'm sure it is as well, but really it is also a very clear description of what happens to people when we're talking about real financial investing with money. So, all I can say from that story is true, right? I mean, that is really what happens. The people who go figure it out, guess what? They end up with more. They double their money. They get more money from other people who want to invest with them. They make more money off of that. That's what happens when people who really take it seriously and go learn it and are willing to do the job and take the risks. And the people who don't are the ones who end up with nothing. And you will end up with nothing if you do not learn this, if you do not learn investing, if you do not figure it out. Even if you make a very good income, that income doesn't last forever. You could lose your job. You could the company could close down. COVID happened, right? If you don't figure out investing, you could end up with nothing. That's really how it works, okay? Because then the money that you did have could be taken away and you don't know how to make more and you haven't figured it out. So uh, that's my little rant on investing and learning and taking responsibility to learn it. And I know that it is scary and hard, and that you know there could be a huge internal resistance to doing the work to learning about it, because I had that until I made that commitment 2 years ago to go figure it out. So that is why I did Financial Ninjas, because I said I totally get it. There's just so much information out there. It's hard to process all that information. Um, if I had somebody that I could trust that could like help figure it out and hone it down and be like, okay, here, this is cool. That's good. That's good. Learn those principles. Learn the principles. Okay. Because investments change. What works yesterday may not work today. But when you know the right principles of what you're looking for, then you will always find good investments. They're always out there. And as you start with like just the simple things that I teach just to get you started, right? But once you're in that flow, once you're in those communities, once you're doing those things, more and more and more stuff will come to you. More opportunities will come to you, more knowledge. You'll start looking for that knowledge. You'll start absorbing that knowledge, right? That's how I grew and learned in this field. And that's what will happen for you too, soon as you start down the path of learning. So don't be like the unfaithful steward who buried the bag of gold and didn't go out and show any effort or any initiative, didn't figure out how to invest it, didn't learn about investing, right? Because he could have gone and talked to one of the other stewards and said, hey, what are you doing with your money, dude? Maybe he didn't know how to do it, all right? He probably wasn't the brightest person in the room, which is probably why the master only gave him one bag of gold. But he could have gone to the other guy who had five and said, hey, what are you doing with your money? Can I do that with you? Right? He could have done that, but he didn't. He just buried it. So that is a good lesson for today, because that's really how it works. So now I see this as a very practical story about finances. And instead of, this sort of spiritual story about, saying, that they used to use to be like, make sure you do a good job with the dishes. So, and they didn't want to talk about money because they didn't give us any money. But in reality, it's about money. It's about finances and how we can set ourselves up for success. So I hope that helps you guys today. That was kind of a fun little digression back into Financial Ninjas and finance. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day.